Sige. The silence of the Ineffable One in the womb of the Pleroma. In Valentinian theology, Sige, commonly translated as silence, occupies a complex and evolving role. Far from being merely a personified Aeon or a consort figure, a careful interpretation grounded in the earliest sources reveals Sige originally as an attribute of the Ineffable One, the Father, embodying primordial tranquility and the unmanifest potential from which the fullness of the Pleroma emerges. This document explores Sige's evolution from a metaphysical attribute to a fully hypostatized Aeon, restoring its foundational meaning as the silence dwelling within the monad, the root of the all. The Valentinian Exposition states, open quote, "Moreover, it is these who have known him who is, the Father, that is, the root of the all, the Ineffable One who dwells in the monad. He dwells alone in silence, and silence is tranquility, since, after all, he was a monad and no one was before him. He dwells in the dyad and in the pair, and his pair is silence, and he possessed the all dwelling within him. And as for intention and persistence, love and permanence, they are indeed unbegotten." Close quote. Here, silence is clearly described as a state of the Father, not as a separate being. It represents primordial tranquility, the condition of perfect stillness before any emanation. The Father dwells alone in silence, a phrase emphasizing the ineffability and unmanifest nature of the root of the all before anything else exists. The fragment from Theodotus deepens this understanding. Open quote. "They say that silence, who is the mother of all who were put forth by depth, with regard to what she had nothing to say, kept silence about the inexpressible. And with regard to what she did not understand, she called it incomprehensible. Sige here functions as a maternal principle associated with depth, bythus, nurturing without expressing or comprehending fully, an attribute of receptivity and hiddenness rather than active personality. This silence is the womb from which creation unfolds. The relationship between bythus, depth, and Sige is poetically described in another fragment. Open quote, "There existed along with him Enna, whom they also call Charis and Sige. At last this bythus determined to send forth from himself the beginning of all things, and deposited this production, which he had resolved to bring forth, in his contemporary Sige, even as seed is deposited in the womb. She then, having received this seed, and becoming pregnant, gave birth to Nu, who was both similar and equal to him who had produced him." Close quote. Sige here is explicitly compared to a womb, the silent receptacle in which the seed of all things is planted. This metaphor emphasizes her role as the silent yet active ground of Genesis, the maternal aspect of the Father's unmanifest nature. The seed, sperma, the word or thought of God, is implanted in seed to bring forth nous, the mind or monogenes. The tripartite tractate affirms the centrality of this seed imagery in divine generation. Open quote. "The one who first thought of them, the Father, not only so that they might exist for him, but also that they might exist for themselves as well. Sowed a thought like a spermatic seed, sperma. Now, in order that they might know what exists for them, he graciously granted the initial form." Close quote. This seed is the word or divine utterance implanted in the silence of Sige, resulting in the birth of Aeons. It resonates with New Testament language, such as 1 Peter 1:23. Open quote. "For you have been given a new birth, not by corruptible, but by incorruptible, reproductive seed, through the word of the living and enduring God." Close quote. Similarly, 1 John 3 verse 9 states, open quote, "Everyone who has been born from God does not carry on sin, because his reproductive seed remains in such one." Close quote. The seed is thus the word implanted within C, producing the unfolding divine fullness. The Valentinian Exposition further clarifies the process of emanation. Open quote. "God came forth, the Son, mind of the all. That is, it is from the root of the all that even his thought stems, since he had this one, the Son, in mind. Now this is the root of the all and monad without anyone before him." Close quote. Here, the Father's thought, contained in the silence of C, becomes active and brings forth the Son, the mind of the all. The silent monad is the source, and its first emanation is the mind, nous, which comprehends the Father's greatness. Another important passage reads, open quote, "Now the second spring exists in silence and speaks with him alone. He is one who appears in silence, and he is mind of the all dwelling secondarily with life. For he is the projector of the all and the very hypostasis of the Father. That is, he is the thought and his descent below. Close quote. This reveals the Father's thought dwelling in silence as the projector of the divine fullness, the tetrad consisting of word, life, man, and church. Word glorifies the Ineffable One, while life glorifies silence, the silent tranquility of the Father's hidden nature. Finally, the gospel of truth offers a fitting conclusion. Open quote, paradise is the perfection in the thought of the Father, and the plants are the words of his reflection. Each one of his words is the work of his will alone, but his will is incomprehensible. His will is his footstep, but no one can know it. For the Father knows the beginning of them all, as well as their end. For they were made manifest for the glory and the joy of his name. Close quote. Sige, the silence, is the inscrutable will and rest of the Father. Though ineffable and hidden, this silence is the fertile ground from which divine generation arises, and to which all creation ultimately returns. Conclusion. The figure of Sige in Valentinian theology is best understood as the silent attribute of the ineffable Father, his primordial tranquility, receptivity, and womb, rather than as a separate Aeon or personified entity. This silence holds the divine seed, the word or thought, which gives birth to the Aeons and projects the fullness of the Pleroma. By restoring Sige to its original meaning as an attribute of the Father, we recover the profound mystical insight of Valentinus and his earliest followers. The ineffable silence of God is the fertile ground of all being, the source from which all divine realities emanate and to which they return in glory.